I think obviously the content is exciting. I'm not a huge scientist myself, so I got to learn a lot about this idea of time and the multiverse. The play is definitely written in a way that teaches you about the multiverse. So I think to study it and to study all of the various nuances of it and the way that each scene can and should be played or could be played definitely taught me a lot about life. I have worked with Josh before, but I was always directing. So to be in a play where we're acting together has just been awesome. I've never had that experience where not only can we rehearse together, but we can talk about what's happening in the show and how it's affecting us as people and the things it's making us think about. We have a similar process to approaching a show. And so that's been exciting to really see what happens behind the scenes for us putting a show together as individuals, but putting a show together as a couple. It's been great. Ooh, sign language. We have a scene that we get to approach with sign language, and I found that I'm actually pretty good at signing because I'm more expressive as a person, but getting the specifics right, it is definitely learning another language and also wanting to honor sign language to make sure that we're not butchering it. It's been a bit of a challenge, but super cool. So we had two interpreters. They're married, Alyssa and Curtis Horner, and they've actually interpreted quite a few shows at the Cascade Theater, and they came and spent 3 hours with us translating a page and a half. They were amazing. And they broke down all of the scene for us. They went into the lines, and it was kind of a fascinating process because they actually interpreted each line into signs that made sense to them. So it took about 3 hours to put a page and a half into sign language. And then the rest was up to us. But it was a very neat experience. Oh, people should come and see this play because it's a work of art. It is smartly written. It makes you think about a lot of things. I think for me, I recently lost my father, and it was fascinating for me to find out that the playwright looked back on the show and said, maybe I wrote it to deal with the loss of my own father. And I so related to that. I thought, gosh, it's so true. We have that feeling sometimes like maybe in another universe, that person is still here. And I think that it's relatable. We can all imagine our lives in 100 different ways. You know, for me, I imagine that I've lived 1,000 lives, and in this show, we kind of get to. So it's pretty neat. Sometimes it's kind of obvious because the lines can repeat themselves, so you feel like, oh, they're doing it again. Other times it's not so obvious. You have to look at our body language, you have to look at the tone of our voice, our position on the stage, and then our director has some tricks up his sleeve for lighting and other things that will lend the audience to what's happening. I just really hope that people come and experience this show. I think it's hard when you have a play and you go, I've never heard of it, I don't know anything about it, and this one, it doesn't matter if you've ever heard of it before, you will never forget it. Constellations by Nick Payne.